what's going on, and what our spirits in there, who they might be or whatnot. So the house was built, it was finished in 1845, and it's the oldest home in Jones County. It was started in about 1832, and the first person who started building it passed away, and then there was probably a period of time that nobody worked on it, and then it was finished by another builder. He did not live in the house. He built it and sold it. He sold it to Amos and Eleanor Deason. And they came from Hanging Bucket, South Carolina, and stopped through Lauderdale County and then arrived down here about between 1840 and 1845. They had 3 daughters, and those daughters, of course, when daughters get married, they take their husband's name, and so there are no Deason descendants who lived in the house. But a lot of the descendants of the Deasons have lived in the house and been a part of it. And actually, an unusual thing about the house is it's only had 4 owners. It was the Deasons, and then the second family was the Andersons, and then a descendant, and the Andersons were descendants of the Deasons. And then the third family was also descendant of the Andersons, and then the Tallahassee chapter is the 4th owner. And a lot of us in the chapter are descendants of the Andersons and the Deasons, so it's really still in the same family. Y'all can come on in. All right, and then this is the murder room. We have their odd chairs here because we have been having ghost hunts. Some people sit in the different rooms. We usually don't have folding chairs all over the house. All right, this was the Deason's bedroom. Of course, we have a closet now, but this was the only bedroom with a fireplace. And the southern way is you give the best room in the house to your company. So Major Amos McLemore was a guest in the house. He was friends with the Deasons, and he was an officer in the Confederate Army. When the men from Jones County started deserting, Major McLemore was sent here to round them up and send them back to fight. So he came down, and they would go out every day and try to, find the deserters, and they weren't having any luck. Knight, though, knew that they were here, and he was watching them, and he had watched them go out day after day and take the same route through the woods. And so he and his men actually were going to ambush these guys, and the day, it was October 6th, he was going to ambush them. They went a different direction, so he missed them. So then they decided to come to the house instead that night and shoot McLemore here. So they came, the story is that he tried to get a shot through the windows. It was already cold, it was October, but it was already cold. It was raining that day, so we think the windows would have been closed. And at that time, remember, the back of that house was not here, so this was outside and this was outside. When they closed in, they just left the windows for some reason. So I guess, we can have some windows in the bedroom, that's okay. That open up into the hallway. It's all right. But anyway, they did not get a shot through the window. They said he couldn't get a clear shot. So then he came back around and threw the door open. McLemore fell right here in this area. The floor was unfinished, so his blood just soaked right on in and through the floor. And there was really no way to get it out. They scrubbed, they tried everything, but they could not get it. Now, McLemore was taken to East Abuchie, back to his home and his family. He passed away about 3 days later. The bloodstains stayed, though. They said the Deasons finally covered it with a rug, and we think probably the Anderson family got tired of seeing blood on the bedroom floor, and so they laid a completely new floor on top of it. So the old floor is underneath, I'm assuming with the bloodstains still there, but this floor is just a new floor that's set on top of it. Most of what they did back then to try to get the blood up was they used brick and sand, just try to rub it out, and brick and sand would be just like putting sandpaper on the wood floor. So they pretty much, I think, had the floor pretty thin. They just wore it away, but because the blood had soaked all the way through, they were not going to get rid of that blood. So the story then became that the house was haunted, and that every year on the anniversary of the shooting, this door would fly open. And that's been a story handed down from the family members ever since it happened, just about, that the door would fly open on the anniversary of the shooting. So it's had the reputation of being haunted for a long time. And this is the picture of the murder room. This is the floor, and it's not a good picture at all because the picture was not the greatest, and then when you blow it up, it's just not very good. But this is the floor. This is the joist that the floor sits on. So this is what you're seeing right here. This is the joist, and this is the stuff that's all over the joist up underneath the house. So we're assuming that's still the blood under there. Okay, so everything to the left is the addition. The Andersons added on to this. Would have been an open porch when the Deasons lived here. Right, this room was the Andersons, Isaac Anderson Jr. and his wife Sally Poole. That's his picture there. He died in this bedroom, and his father-in-law, Dr. Poole, also died. He came to visit and passed away in this room. And Dr. Poole was laid out in this room, and laying out was what they would do. They would have the casket, and they would put it on sawhorses and put ice under it to try to keep the body cool until they could get the grave done and have the burial. So sometimes we have lots of action in this room for the different deaths that had taken place in it. But one of the things they did, they took out all of the light switches from all over the house. They wanted the house to look like it did when the Deasons lived here. And of course, they didn't have light switches back then. So they put the sconces on the wall, and we've got all of the controls for all of the lights here. So we're just flipping all these switches. I can turn every light off in the house, except for the kitchen is on. They do have the switches in there. But we can dim this down, so if we want like a candlelight evening, we can dim it down to look just about like candles, or we can run it up to have it as bright as we can make it. One of the funny things that happened when they were doing this is when you take out the light switch, there's a hole in the wall, and they had to cut little blocks of wood and put them in. And the man that was doing it said he was using an epoxy glue that once it was in there, we would have to, after it dried, it would take a hammer to get it out because it would be bonded to that wood. And so he put all the little blocks of wood in the parlor, got finished, left for the day. When he came back the next day, all the little blocks of wood were in the middle of the floor. And he said, that's impossible, because he had been here long enough for that epoxy to dry. He said it looked like it had been blown from inside the wall into the room. And he actually took a piece of one of the little blocks home with him as a souvenir, because he said it could not have happened. That just couldn't have happened.
We're in the Deason Home.
Yeah, nothing happened. Flashlights came on. That's about it.
Yeah. We went and sat in the murder room and this room, which is the long room. And nothing really happened in here. But in the murder room, flashlights turned on multiple times. And Morgan thought she heard a hum. And she's listened to the recording right now. They recorded it, and I don't know. Nothing happened really.
First of all, I'm crazy. In the murder room, when we went to listen to the camcorder, I could have sworn I heard a humming of a tune, but then I can't hear it again, and apparently everyone else can't hear it, so I'm crazy. Or maybe, I don't really know. But this has been an underwhelming experience compared to last time, because last time we had someone get touched and then scream, run away, and it was really funny. But this time, they didn't want to cooperate with us.